In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to do a side shoulder stand. There's so many different ways that you can get into this, so I'm just going to show you one of the ways today. So you'll come into a kneeling position. You can have your knees together or your knees apart for this entry. Now, what you're going to do once you're down. So in terms of what direction I'm facing, for reference, this is my left side, this is my right side. So my right side is facing the back and my left side is facing you. So when I come down, I'm going to have myself set up just behind the pole. So I'm not directly in line with the pole. I'm just back behind a little bit. I'll take my right hand, so the hand that's furthest away from the pole. I'll grab the base of the pole, bringing my elbow down, pointing straight back from the pole. And then my other hand is going to reach up also in a baseball grip, let's say around 90 degrees once you're in this position as well. So your elbow is going to be bent. And then from there, you're going to tip yourself further down so that your head and the side of your shoulder comes down onto the ground. So at this point, I have a 90-degree bend in my elbow. With my top arm, I want to try to have it straight here. Not too high where you feel like your hand is slipping off the pole, but you don't want to have it way down here either. So pretty straight and in a baseball grip as well so that you can pull on the pole later. So once you're down here, your hips are up right over top of your knees. Now I'll take my left leg, so my leg that's closest to you, and I'm going to extend it back. From here, I'm going to lift my leg up, bend it, and then I'm going to pivot on my bottom shin. So I'm going to point my foot away, so towards the back as I point my top knee up and slide open with my hips facing the front. Okay? So when you're doing that transition, you want to try to keep your bottom knee, so in this case, my right knee, directly under my hips as much as I can. However, if you lack that flexibility, then you can also allow this bottom knee to slide out from under your hips a little bit away from your head, but you want to keep your knee in line with the rest of your body. So again, if I'm here and I'm set up on the floor like so, then when I extend, lift, and bend, watch how this bottom knee, I'm trying to keep it right under my hip as I pivot open, okay? So I'm here, I pivot open, but if I need to, I can slide my hip further away so that it's no longer directly under my hip. If you're sliding your knee further away, make sure you don't slide out too far because this is what's gonna happen, and then it's gonna be really hard to get up into your shoulder stand later. So again, if I'm here, then when I lift this leg up and I pivot open, I slide my shin out just a little bit if I'm going to do that. Okay, so once you're in this position, you're actively pushing through your grounded leg so that you're lifting your hips up and you're not collapsing down onto the floor. So I really recommend just playing with that entrance first, okay? Just so that you can play with getting your body into the right positioning, because the higher you can keep your hips on your takeoff, the easier it will be to lift up into your shoulder stand from that position. And so when I say hips up, again, that is in reference to where that bottom knee is going to be. So again, if I'm here and I'm lifting, watch this bottom knee. If it's directly under me, my hips are higher. If I slide it out, my hips are lower. So from a flexibility standpoint, it'll be easier to take that bottom knee and slide it out a little bit further away from your head. Or in terms of if you want to think about when you're lifting up into your shoulder stand, then having your knee more directly under your hips will just make it a little easier from a strength perspective when it comes to lifting up. But you can play with both placements and just find the spot that really works for you. So once you're in this position and you open up and you're here, the top leg needs to extend, and you'll take the part between your stiletto and your platform onto the pole. So you can kind of look up at the pole to find that. And then once you do, you want to try to keep your gaze looking forward. So I'm pushing through the side of my shoulder. I'm going to pull with my top hand, and then with my bottom leg, without moving my knee, so without sliding my knee further away from me, I'm going to push through the platform of my shoe to send my hips up even higher. So I'm in this position now, okay? Whereas if I tried to lift this knee off the ground and I slid out, then I'd end up here and I would not be able to lift, okay? So this is another really important thing, because if you slide that bottom leg out too much and your hips drop towards the ground, you're not going to be able to lift up into your shoulder stand, because you need to be able to stack your hips over top of your chest as much as you can, okay? So again, we're here. I connect, I look up, I push through my foot, sliding my top foot up the pole a little bit as well. And then I really pull with this top hand to lift my other leg up, and I get to this position first. So both of my feet are side by side on the pole, my hips are up, and my belly button is facing the pole. I have a side crunch in this side. Okay, then to come down, bottom leg, top leg, and then you pull yourself back up. So that's the first step for learning this entry into a shoulder stand. Of course, there's many different shapes that you can do in a shoulder stand as well, but I'm going to take it as far as taking your feet off of the pole and into a straddle. Okay, so what you're going to do next, once you feel balanced and confident in your entry and in that straight line that you just did, then you can start to think about a straddle. So what that will look like is I'm here, I open up, kick, push, lift up. Okay, I'm looking forward. Now I'm going to slide my feet down, thinking knees to ears. The progression first will be, once your knees are down, you'll kick your legs out, bring your feet onto the ground so that you're in this straddle position. Okay, so that's step one. Just to get used to the transition of sliding your feet down the pole, knees towards the side of your head, and then kicking your legs as wide as possible to land in a straddle, but you're still supported because your feet are touching the ground. But the next shape, which is your full straddle balance, is very similar to that. It just requires a little more balancing technique because your feet are going to be off the ground, but definitely try this progression first with your feet on the ground and focusing on feeling your hips as stacked over top of your chest as much as possible, with your belly button still facing the front. Okay, so now I'll show you how to progress from there. So I'll bring myself down. I enter the same way. Okay, so I tuck my knees down, and then from here, I'm just going to find my balance and slowly kick wide into a straddle. I can also bring my feet down anytime, okay? Or I can try to press up from the ground. I personally find that to be harder than if you were to just slide your knees down and then extend out from there. And there definitely is a middle split action going on there. So really think about pulling your legs as wide as possible, side crunching through the side that's closest to the side of your head, so you have your obliques engaged, because that's going to help you keep your hips up and stay balanced. Another note, when you're bringing your knees down, you're using your feet on the pole the whole time, because that will help you spot and control your balance. So it's a slow and controlled descent. Maybe it's a little faster and more dynamic once you get the experience to just pop into that place of balance. But when you're first learning, just slowly slide your feet down until your knees are as low as you can get them, and then you'll extend your legs out. Okay, so I'll show you one more time. So just notice how my feet spot the pole. Okay, so I'm here, open up, pull up, look forwards. Now my feet stay on the pole. I'm pressing into the pole with my feet lightly. As I slowly bring my knees down, I find my balance. I'm crunching through my right side, so hip to ear. And then when I feel balance, then I slowly extend into a straddle. Okay? So when you're balancing there without your feet on the pole. You're using your arms to help balance you. Yes, your core and your obliques are working to keep your hips stacked over your shoulders and chest as much as possible. But my hands that are on the pole, they're helping me balance, especially that top hand. So you want to remain pulling with that top hand and feeling those subtle shifts and adjustments that happen as you find your balance point, and then trying to stay in that. When you're balancing and really all the way through any side shoulder stand, with that bottom shoulder, make sure you're not doing this. You really want to push your shoulder like in to the ground. So you want to feel like you're not crunching and compressing. You want to feel like you're creating space. So your shoulders pushing out to the side so that you're resisting the pressure of the ground. And so you're keeping your shoulder nice and strong. Okay, so that's how you get into this variation of your side shoulder stand. Make sure you play with both sides because there's always one side that might click a little bit faster. And then from there, eventually you'll be able to gain more and more balance and feel more confident in this skill.